Chasing perfection. We all do it, and it messes each and every one of us up. Yes, it so does. Thank you for joining me on my One for One Life. I'm Kate, and this is a journey of becoming a wise woman who builds her house and learning how to leave that foolish one behind that just wants to tear it all down. So if that resonates with you, you know what? You're in the right place. So today we're going to talk again about chasing perfection, this elusive thing that we seem to be obsessed with. We have to have the perfect job, the perfect spouse, the perfect kids, the perfect vacation. It has to be perfect. And I noticed that I say the word perfect a lot. Um, I'll ask a question, somebody responds, and I'll go, oh, perfect. It's not perfect. Nothing in this world right now, right here, is perfect. But we chase it. We chase it. And today, I want to talk about comparison. That four-letter word of comparison. I'm so guilty of it. And I don't know about you, but I know I am. And I got notes, which is awesome. But we talk about perfection. We talk about it in everything. I want to talk about art today. Let's look at Picasso and Norman Rockwell, two totally separate types of artists doing absolutely opposite works of art. And yet they're both considered masters, aren't they? They're Picasso was highly sought after. Mozart is highly sought after. They're just Rembrandt. I don't even know them all, and we go, oh, that's a this. If you've ever watched White Collar and you watch Neil go, oh, well, that's a because of whatever, and you just go, how do you even know all that, right? But we do. We know all this because, and I don't even know what my computer's doing right now, but it is doing something weird. So I hope this is working. See, I want to be perfect, and it's not. And yet we chase this thing of perfection when we don't need to chase it because that's not what we're supposed to chase. And there's nothing perfect in this world. Go all the way back to the book of Genesis. God looked over what he did and he said, and he declared that it was good. It was very good. He didn't declare that this is perfect. No, he said it was good. It was very good. Because here on this side of heaven, there is no perfect. But we seek it. We compare ourselves to someone who we think is perfect in an area. We judge based on that, and then we lose. Because even if we go, oh, I'm so much better than them, we have lost, girl, because we are not doing the right thing, and we judge based on how somebody looks, the job they have, the kids, their kids are throwing a screaming fit in the middle of the grocery store, and we judge that woman. Shame on us, because our kids did it too, and we judge. Well, if that was my kid, yeah, your kid probably would be on top aisle, pulling everything down off the aisle, right? So what happens is when we are chasing perfection and we are comparing, it creates a vacuum in our soul because it's never satisfied. It's this voided space because we're so busy looking for something somebody else has and comparing that we miss the one who has everything for us. And it's not just us. If we go back into the book of Samuel, the Israelites were like, look, we need a king. Everybody else has got a king. Why don't we have a king? We need a king. Come on. Life would be so much better if we just had a king. But you see, God was their head. Why wasn't God enough? What did they think a king would have and be able to do for them that God couldn't? But see, that's not what they were looking at, I don't think. They were busy looking at what they had and how they did things. And to them, it looked perfect. It looked like a great way to run the nation. So they looked at, they said, Samuel, you got to find us a king. You got to find us a king because we need a king because they have a king. So God let them have a king. And Saul was chosen. And I love this because it says he stood head above, shoulders above everybody else. And he looked like this magnificent specimen, great kingly material. You know, look at him. He had it. And yet when he was announced that this was going to be king, he was hiding. He was hiding because he couldn't deal with it. Hiding. And, you know, and we all know the story that Samuel was then tasked years later to go anoint someone else. But even Samuel, as closely as he walked with God, he heard from God and he was doing God's work, still didn't quite understand. Gives us hope when we mess up because even Samuel messed up. So he goes to Jesse, says, okay, one of your sons, and Eliab goes by and he goes, oh, look at him. He looks perfect. And God had to come in and go, Samuel, step back here. Let's have a chat. You judge based on what you see out here. But God says he looks at the heart. And we can compare ourselves to someone who we think their life is perfect. Because, oh my goodness, look, they travel all the time. Oh, look at that. Her husband makes a lot of money. Look at her clothes and her jewelry. Oh, they have it all. And you know what? Their marriage is crumbling. We don't know what's going on in here. And when we compare and we're chasing what we think is perfect, it opens up the space for the enemy to come in to remind us that we are so not, that we are not enough. We're not good enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not. And God's over here going, girl, you belong to me. I created you. You are enough. So this pursuing of perfection so trips us off because what it does actually is we are trying to get closer to it. It pulls us farther away from it because it pulls us away from the one who is perfect, and that's God. It pulls us away from the relationship he wants for us as he wants to pour into us and to grow us and to mold us into his image and remind us that we are his and we are precious in his sight. That he created us uniquely us. We may be a Picasso, you may be a Norman Rockwell, you know, we all are different and we're all necessary. But when we begin to judge based on someone's size or job or car they drive or any of it, we lose. We lose because we are going, Lord, you know what? You really messed up how you made me. You messed up. God doesn't make mistakes. He made you perfectly you. If you go back into Samuel, Jesse paraded all of these boys in front of Samuel, and he's like, oh, no. And they all go by, and Jesse's like, look at my sons. They're awesome. And Samuel says, you got anybody else? And he goes, oh, yeah, there's one more. There's the youngest guy. Yeah, but he's, you know, you know. And we think sometimes that's how God sees us. Oh yeah, we're that afterthought. We're the ones that are forgotten by God. That everybody else has all of these things and we have nothing. But God, I think God wants us to say, you know what, Lord? Thank you. Thank you for making me me. and surrender all of me to all of you so you can mold me into the woman that you want me to be, the woman that is after your heart. Oh, to be known like David. David was called a man after God's own heart, and I think that would be an amazing mantle. I don't know if mantle is the right word, but to be known as a woman who's after God's heart. That as we seek to become wise women who are building our house, we're building it on the foundation of God. That this comparison is a lie from the pit of hell. We're never called to compare ourselves to someone else and to judge someone else based on what we think we see. We think this little snippet of how we saw them angry in the grocery store, this is them. No, they were having a bad moment. You know what? Your cashier is just probably a little stressed, and she needs someone to smile and be nice to her and say a prayer for her. You know, and you're not better if you weigh more, weigh less, or taller, or shorter, or richer, or whatever. None of that makes us better. None of that increases our worth in the eyes of God. None of that. None of that. I remember a time when I was still really hiding parts of my past because I was just so broken by them. And I just knew that, I just knew the judgment that would come if people knew about my past. And God was really trying to open the doors and going, Kate, you got to let it out. I had sought him, I've repented, and I wanted healing. And yet you don't go through things to only go through things. I really believe that God takes what you go through to help someone else who has gone or is going through or will be going through what you went through. And we're not meant to hide it in the closet. That's where the enemy comes in and goes, oh, you have to hide. You're awful. People are going to hate you for that. People are going to look at you different. People are going to treat you different. And it's true. Some people do. To this day, even though it's very much out there, I've written about it. I talk about it when a lot of times when I preach in different groups, when I teach in large groups, because there's always another woman in there that needs to hear my testimony. Because when I was 19, I had an abortion. I didn't know anything about God, and I just thought Jesus was this wimpy dude that hung out on a cross that you just talked about twice a year. I really had no concept. And height of I am woman, hear me roar, feminist moment, do not tell me what to do because I can do it. I can do anything better than you, that kind of a thing. And I bought it. I bought their lie. And yet through that horrific mistake that I made, the sacrificing of my own child brought me to the saving grace of Jesus Christ. So that is such a part of my testimony. And because I was chasing the perfect life and I didn't want it interrupted. Okay. And I saw it best as an inconvenience in somehow in being perfect. This showed that I still wasn't. So to get rid of it, that I still looked perfect. And yet that act of the choice to continue to chase perfection, I struggled with anorexia and bulimia and all of this for years, because perfection is so elusive. And I want you to know that I'm going to leave you with this in Luke 7, starting in 36, because a Pharisee asked Jesus to come have dinner with him. And yet when he brought him as custom, they washed their feet, only he didn't offer any of that. He didn't offer him any oil to anoint his head. He just said, sit down and eat. Maybe not like that. And this woman, it says, when a certain immoral woman showed up, she cried. She washed his feet with her tears, and she had this perfume that cost her everything. And yet this man said in his mind, if Jesus just knew what type of woman she was. And when I first read that, my heart was just torn in two. The realization that Jesus really does know what manner of woman I am. I'm a sinner, just like all of you. Just like I make mistakes and I've got to repent and I've got to go before God and say, I'm so sorry. And I have to go to the person that I just said something wrong to and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because this is not who I want to be. But I am done trying to be someone else. I am done trying to be exactly what someone else wants me to be. I'm me. I'm Kate. This is what I am. My hair is longer than it's ever been, and I'm kind of having fun pulling it back, and I weigh a little bit more than I really kind of want to, and yet it's okay. I am what I am. So in your chasing of perfection, you got to put it down. You got to put it down, because there is only one who is perfect, and that is Jesus Christ. And he is always waiting with outstretched arms for each and every one of us to come to him. So as you are chasing perfection, I want you to remember in 1 Samuel, the Lord told Samuel, you look on the outside, I look at the heart. I want you to let God to look at your heart and surrender your heart to him. Because when you begin to have God's view of you, everybody else just looks a little less, So put down perfection, because it's not real. I think it was created by the enemy to keep us spinning in a circle and doing crazy stuff, so we don't look to the one who created us, who says, you're beautiful and I love you. Because that's really the only thing that matters. Proverbs 14:1, a wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. So let's build our houses on the rock of Jesus Christ together. God bless.